Welcome back, everybody, to Brick System Brothers. My name's Nathan Masters, and I'm going to host another episode of our HUWTAP series. Today's number 17. We have part number 30360, or if you have the newer version, it's also 93168. And this is a 3x6, kind of an engine block is what I like to call it. And it's a kind of interesting piece, and there's some nice properties here. But let's jump onto Bricklink first thing and look at some of our history. Two kind of different part IDs here. There were some mold updates and variations. The most noticeable ones are on the inside where there's studs on the 2x2 area. Kind of a different pattern there underneath those hollow studs. And then the other one is on the bottom surface, kind of in the cutout, is there's another change from kind of the stud attachment pattern. And then the updated one also goes to solid studs on the top surface of that cutout. The old version has hollow ones there. So a couple of changes. I don't think it changes anything in terms of connection points. We still have our hollow studs on the inside in both cases. Just maybe a slightly stronger arrangement of the reinforcing plastic cross sections in there. So that's something to keep in mind if you come across the newer version. It does have a different number. Functionality wise, I believe it is the same exact part. Attachment points are all identical. Just a matter of a somewhat updated mold. And in an interesting case, we actually haven't seen this part for 7 years now. In 2012, the last time we saw this was in a dyno set, the T-Rex Hunter 5886 from 2012. It had two light bluish gray ones. So maybe a part that's taking a longer break than some of our other pieces, although we've definitely seen longer gaps of multiple years between the releases of certain LEGO elements. Of course, lots more to investigate there another day. Let's just pop this out real quick, sort by sets, and we can see pretty easily the most popular color for this piece is white with 23 sets. Black is in second place with less than half of that, 9 sets there. Another thing to note, we have all 4 of our grayscale colors, the old and new versions of dark and light gray. So that color change occurring maybe around 2006 or 2007 when LEGO changed their mixes, most noticeably for light gray and dark gray. I think a couple other colors like dark red got a slight change, but the grays is what a lot of people are probably familiar with. So this particular element available in all 4 colors of light and dark gray. Keep that in mind. Orange and yellow both in 2 sets each. So kind of some brighter colors there. Nice that we have somewhat limited but not really rare release there. Yellow definitely more popular in stores right now. Dark green was in 1 set in 2009. A Star Wars set. I think it had 2 of them in that A-wing. Dark red, another one with a single set release. Red and tan, both a single set release. Red and tan are older, back from 2000. Dark red and dark green a little bit closer to our current day here, 2006 and 2009. Although the dark green, again, look at the number in the stores here, quite a bit lower than all 3 of the other ones released before dark green. We have 12 colors for this part to play around with, so that's nice. Not every part has such a nice selection. Even better, this is kind of a mechanical and engine part, and so we definitely want to see that in our grays, black and white, and we have all 4 grays, like I mentioned. So very nice there. So I've actually got a red one. I think I picked this up in a bulk lot. This is the one of the ones that was only in a single set back in the day. So we'll be looking at this red one and this white one. I think both of mine are the original mold, the 303. Was that 6.2? We'll pull that back up. 6.0. 30360. So none of these showcasing the updated molds. These still have the hollow studs on top and that kind of 45-degree angle bracing on the bottom of the cutout. But the dimensions of the part are all the same, so it will serve to demonstrate some of the interesting properties of this piece. Now the first thing I want to point out is being a 3x3 cylinder, that kind of gives us options for construction in between some of the other standards of the LEGO system. The 2x2 has plenty of cylinder pieces and options. The 4x4 also has quite a few different cylindrical pieces by now, but 3x3 has pretty limited options when you're building at this scale. So having this engine piece ready built and kind of, it does have these cutouts, but pretty smooth other than that. Kind of a 3x6 solid continuous cylindrical 3x3 section here. Not something that we could easily build with parts at hand. So glad to have this piece, even though it is starting to fall behind in terms of when it was last produced. Some of the other stuff in the LEGO system with these dimensions, one of the first things that comes to mind is the radar dishes. Those all have pretty standardized outer diameters, and in this case our 3 diameter dish does line up perfectly with each end of the engine block. Another piece to keep in mind is the kind of cone brick. Starts at a 3x3 round base and then slopes up to a 2x2 base over the course of 2 bricks. So back to back on either side here, this lines up pretty well. And you could also put it studs in on this end and get kind of a rocket nozzle effect going on there. So having these 4 studs ready to go right on the base of the piece, it's pretty nice. If we slap this on a plate, just kind of get an idea of the footprint. Exactly 6 long here, exactly 3 wide. Somewhat interesting in terms of the height of the piece. Works out to 2 bricks and 2 plates. So seems kind of random at first, but that dimension is coming from a brick cut out on top, a brick cut out on the bottom, and the middle thickness is exactly 2 plates. So add all those up together and you get 2 2/3 for your height, and that is an exact dimension, fits right into the system. Just noticed on the bottom here we do have some stud cutouts, so I think you'd be able to stick this down on the surface. Indeed you can. Alright, I actually haven't used this before, so that's something to keep in mind. It does seem like you get a pretty close connection with the stud here on the bottom, but seems like this is still a legal connection. So nice to know that you can do that. Kind of similar to how I attached the nozzle piece on here. I also had this 2x2 grooved element out to play with. But just, it's an engine kind of centric part for building, so engine details, it does lend itself pretty well. You could slap it up on the inside here. Just a word of warning, if you start putting some stuff in here, like maybe a tile that would be difficult to get out, try to avoid putting it on just the bottom two, because there's really not much you can do if you get something stuck down there. But if you put a 2x2 area, kind of a tile down on the whole thing, we do have holes all the way through the element. So if worse comes to worse, you can get a flex rod or anything of similar diameter and kind of feed that through the piece. It's a bit of a trick because it does intersect with the studs up on top, but you can get it to force through these holes, and in an emergency you could use this to push something out of the way if you got it stuck up in the top. So just keep that in mind. Regular 3.18 millimeter bar will fit all the way through this piece, but only on the top 2 rows. Okay, last thing to mention is just in terms of smoothing this out, we don't really have a lot that provides a continuous filler piece for this. The closest thing I could think of was this 2x2 with the rounded surface. If we kind of set this in here, it seems like it would do okay, but what we really need is a 2x3 version of this piece. And of course, if we could get the bottom, that'd be great too, but really your best bet for now is to use some kind of regular slope to fill this in on the top and bottom. Not a perfect continuous lineup all the way through, but it does approximate the radius. Should be good enough if you need a continuous curved surface here. Of course, this has been used in our X-Wings for quite a while now, since 1999 I think, and of the iconic 3x3 X-Wing engines showing up with this part seems to do pretty well. This has been modded a little bit, so this isn't of course the original design or the layout. My X-Wing's in kind of sorry shape, but it does convey that engine shaping pretty well, and some Technic construction used to good effect to finish out the engines on that X-Wing. So the 3x3 3x3 here, I guess it's a 3x6 footprint by 2 2/3 high, engine brick 30360, whatever you choose to call it. Kind of an interesting piece. That's why I wanted to feature it today in HUWTAP for our number 17 in the series. And learning about that base plate connection today. You can just stick this down, and that seems to work pretty good. So I'll have to keep that in mind. Hopefully you guys learned something, and thanks for watching.